Ando-san, and today I will be doing a thump tutorial for you beautiful guitar nerds and beautiful guitar players out there, or you guitar enthusiasts out there that like learning crazy techniques, you crazy bastards. You guys are insane. Alright, anyways, yes, today I'm going to be doing a thump tutorial, and pretty much we're going to be talking about the basics. And when I mean the basics, I'm talking about the most boring, asinine, monotonous things you can do with this technique. Isn't that fun? Isn't that what being a musician is all about? It is. But anyways, let's get right into it. So first off, let me talk about my tuning and my guitar. This is a Hornsby guitar. As you all know, I am an endorsed artist. Yeah, I'm endorsed by Hornsby. And this is the Dragonburst Hype Machine model. Dragonburst colorway. Really cool colorway, right? It's awesome. I love it. And the tuning on my guitar is standard. But the F sharp on my 8 strings drop to E. So it's standard drop E on the 8 string. If that makes any sense. I'm sure you'll figure it out, and you'll compensate the tunings in this little listen and tutorial I'm going to be giving you. I'm sure you will. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit about the posture, because that's a very big thing, and not a lot of people talk about it. What your arm is going to be doing, what your wrist is going to be doing, what these little things are going to be doing. No one really talks about it online, and I want to touch up on it before we get straight into thumping. So let me turn my camera, zoom in a little bit here so you can see my beautiful arm and my wrist and my little fingers here. Hello, hi. So let's talk a bit about posture. So what is your arm going to be doing when you're doing the thumping technique? I'm glad you asked. Your arm's going to be in a 25-degree angle, something like this. You want your thumb to be sticking out this way, and you want your fingers sticking out this way. So we're just talking about the posture here. You're getting ready to posture up for thumping. This is what I like to do, and this is usually what I like to show people when I talk about posture for thumping. You want your wrist to be parallel with your forearm as well. You don't want your wrist like this. You don't want your wrist like that. And I'll talk about why you don't want your wrist like those two positions right there. So let's talk a little bit why you don't want your wrist in this angle and you don't want your wrist in this angle. You don't want your wrist in this angle because let's just say if you do a downstroke, right, and you get in that upstroke, you're going to have to compensate for this weird angle that you have your wrist in and pull out instead of keeping your wrist stationary and just plucking with your finger. You want to basically minimize all movement in your wrist, and you don't want to be doing these crazy drastic movements with your wrist because that's really going to mess things up. You do not want that. Trust me. It's going to mess up the flow of things, and you're not going to be able to play as fast if you want to go fast. You crazy motherfuckers, you guys are insane. Alright, so anyways, let's talk about why you don't want your wrist like this. Now, you don't want your wrist like this because it's going to be a weird angle for the downstroke. You kind of want your wrist angled like that, so when you do the downstroke, you have room for the upstroke. But if you do it like this, you're literally going to have to do like a weird upstroke like that, and that can mess things up. Plus, your finger is down here. You don't want that. You don't want your finger down here, because then you're going to be doing weird shit like this. You're going to be like, you don't want that. You don't want that at all. So what you want is this. You want your arm, this little forearm here, this part of your arm, to be in a 25-degree angle, and you want your wrist to be parallel with your forearm. Very, very important. Trust me, guys. And as for the area we're going to be doing most of the thumping, I would recommend, when you start learning the technique, to play around the neck pickup position. Because if you play down in the bridge pickup position, you're going to have a ton of tension, and you do not want that tension. Trust me. In the beginning, you don't. Now, it all depends on whether or not you want a different sound or a different dynamic with the technique. But I would definitely recommend playing around the neck pickup position. Whereas, like, if I was doing, and I was playing down here, so like dynamically they sound different, and tone-wise they do as well. So you see the difference? It's also a lot easier playing up here because there's less tension here. And that makes it a lot easier to incorporate the downstroke, upstroke, pluck, and all that. And you're not going to be struggling to play all hard. It's not like you're playing bass, whereas there's more tension on the bass than the guitar. So it's actually a lot easier to play thumping on the guitar, but in terms of spacing, string spacing, it's not. Because on the bass you have a lot to work with. That's why when you see a lot of bass players, they're just like really just hammering in. Oops, shit. That's why when you see a lot of bass players, they're like just really just slamming on their instrument. But on here, like if you pay attention to how I'm doing that, my wrist and everything's stationary. I'm not moving my hand. A lot of it's coming from my fingers. And please don't ask me why I'm just playing that over and over again. It just so happens that it's easy for my hand to be right here. And it's just kind of fun to play. It's just a bunch of triplets. But anyways, yeah, let's talk about the little exercise that we're going to be doing. It's a very monotonous exercise, and you're going to be really bored, but you're also going to have a good time understanding the technique, because that is the most important thing, is understanding what you're playing and how your hands are supposed to go and how it's supposed to feel. Okay, so let's talk about the exercise that we're going to be playing. So it's going to be a chord, and it's going to be on the 8th fret on the E, 7th fret on the A, and then the 9th fret on the D. That's the chord that we're playing. So, I want to talk a bit about downstrokes real quick. So we're getting into the thumping portion of this tutorial. We talked a bit about posture and where your hand's going to be and where you should play in the beginning. You want to play around the neck pickup position. Just want to remind you all that. Just a little bit easier for you. So let's get into it. Okay, so when you're doing a downstroke, these are the two most important things with downstrokes. You want your thumb to strike through the first string, and then you want your thumb to rest on the next string. So when I say strike through the string, I literally mean to strike through it. If you take a look at my thumb here, I'm striking through the string. I'm also coming at an angle. It's almost like you're opening a doorknob. So I also want to mention this. So in the beginning, you're also going to be implementing a little bit of wrist movement, but that's okay. That's okay with doubles right now. With double thumping, it's okay to implement more wrist movement than thumb movement. But over time, as you develop the technique, you're definitely going to want to implement more thumb movement than wrist movement. So definitely use your wrist to kind of help you get that strike through the string, resting on the next string feel. That's very, very important. And I'm also using this side of my thumb. As you can see, I have no nails whatsoever. I'm just using the meat on my thumb. So yeah, I mean, you could grow out nails if you want, but honestly, it doesn't work well with me. I do not like it. So yeah, strike through the string, resting your thumb on the next string, almost like you're opening a door. Kind of want this motion in the beginning. It's also okay to kind of like touch the pickup with your thumb. That's fine. I actually use that, and it really helps me get like clean doubles and whatnot. So now let me talk a bit about upstrokes. So upstrokes, you're literally doing an upstroke, like a diagonal upstroke, and you're like flicking away from the guitar. So let me do a couple for you. And as you can see, oops, I'm not even hitting it that hard. It's just enough to get the note out on the string, because that's when people get it twisted. Because like whenever usually when I do teach people, they're just like going in. No, you don't want to do that. You kind of just want to relax your hand. You see how I'm moving my thumb? This is what you want. But if you're using more of your wrist right now, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Because like I said before, you kind of want to get used to the motion of the downstroke, upstroke. And I also want to mention that this is probably the most crucial part of thumping, is getting down your double thumping. Because the first finger that's going to touch the strings is your thumb. And if you don't have double thumps down, if you don't have downstrokes down or upstrokes down, you're going to have a really hard time. I'm telling you. So you really want to like hammer this in. And of course, do it whatever pace you feel works for you, because there are probably going to be some people that's going to pick up the technique while watching this video. It's like, oh wow, I can do it. And then there's also going to be some people like, all right, I got to practice a little bit. So whatever pacing you want to take, go ahead and take that. Metronome is very important. So if you do want to practice for the metronome, please do. I recommend you guys to start off slow. Start off slow, because it's going to feel extremely awkward. And I know, because it's going to feel really, really awkward for some of you. And you definitely do want to take it slow. So please take it slow. So now, remember this chord that I showed you? You're basically going to be doing downstrokes and upstrokes throughout this entire chord. So it's going to sound like this. No shame in looking at your thumb either. There's no shame in looking at your thumb. I actually recommend you to look at your thumb while you're doing that exercise. Also, I don't know if you guys saw what my left hand was doing, but I was lifting up my finger as I was going throughout the chord. So you don't have to hold the chord while you're doing the double thumping. You can totally let go of the notes after you do a double thump on each string. So yeah, take a look at your thumb when you're doing it. It actually really helps, because you definitely do want to get used to kind of like how it's going to feel and what it's going to look like. Because there is a certain way it looks like, and I hope this video kind of is a good reference for that. So now I want to talk a little bit about triplets. Now I always say that double thumping and triplets are the most important patterns. I would say they're almost like the building block of thumping. It's definitely helped me a lot. I use a lot of double thumping and triplets in my songs, predominantly triplets, and I'll give you an example. I'll play a thump really from Annie. That song is off my album Schemin' Season that just came out, like a couple of months ago in January, the beginning of this year. So check it out. And most of it's triplets, and I do implement a small bit of double thumping, but it's only on one section. So yeah, majority of that was triplets. It really was. I did a double thump section on like one part, but a lot of that was triplets. So I definitely use triplets as a building block for my thumping. And also I learned triplets before double thumping. I know that shit's crazy. I don't know how I picked that up, but I learned how to do triplets really well before I got into double thumping. I actually do think double thumping is kind of hard. It's harder than triplets, in my opinion. So let's get into triplets. You're going to be using the same chord. Same chord. Didn't I tell you how monotonous and boring this is going to be? I bet you're loving it. You do want to learn how to play it though, right? Practice. Alright, let's get into it. So triplets, all it is, you're adding a pluck with your index finger. I'll do a couple, and then I'll explain what part of the index finger I'm using, and basically like the technical stuff with triplets. So essentially, I am using the side of my index finger. I don't know if you can tell, but I was literally using the portion of this right here, the portion of my index finger right here. Just right there. That's all I was using. I wasn't using my entire index finger. I was just using this portion. And I'm literally just plucking it. I'm not even plucking it that hard. I'm plucking it just enough to get the note out. I'm going to be saying that a lot. Plugging it just enough to get the note out. So you kind of want this motion with your index finger. And also, you're gonna see, or you're gonna notice that you're gonna be using more Wait, there's like a plane flying by. Give me 1 second. So you're going to notice that you are going to be using more of your fingers than your wrists. And that's because triplets is more or less a finger picking type of technique. It's definitely a subcategory of finger picking. Actually, thumping as a whole is another like subcategory of finger picking. It is essentially a finger picking technique. So, yeah. I'm sorry, guys. The plane's back. So, let me do a couple more triplets for you so you kind of like see that I'm using more of my fingers, less of my wrist. You definitely don't want to use your wrist for this because it's going to mess up things. And it's almost like you're using your wrist as an anchor for your fingers. I also want to point out that thumping is almost like a subcategory of finger picking. So yeah, when you do your triplets, you're going to be using more of your fingers because, I don't know, I think you're a little bit more nimble if you use your fingers more than your wrist. It also messes up the fluid motion with triplets. So it's really important to utilize your fingers with triplets, especially with this little exercise here. Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. The technique itself is a tough one. It's a pretty hard technique. And the most important part with this technique is definitely getting down the fundamentals. And I hope this video helps you. It's literally the fundamentals of thumping. And I feel like if you don't get this part down, essentially the double thumping and the triplets and understanding where you're going to put your hands and all that stuff, if you don't get that part down, you're going to have a really hard time developing the proper technique and also playing it as well. So yeah, so I'm going to play something real quick for you guys. I actually came out with a Prog Hop Thump exercise tab pack yesterday, and it would be awesome if you guys purchase it. It's on my Bandcamp, and all the support is much needed. Seriously, I do this full time. Shit is hard, man. I'm broke. But anyways, yeah. Basically, in the Prog Hop Thump exercise tab pack, there's gonna be 4 songs, and there's gonna be 4 tabs with backing tracks, and essentially it's just a bunch of like various thumping riffs that I wrote with these songs that I just decided to put it out. I also, like, the biggest hurdle with people that do learn how to thump is learning how to create a riff. So I'm hoping that the tabs and the videos that will be coming with the tab pack helps you kind of like develop more of the compositional side of thumping. But I hope this tutorial was good. I just wanted to go over the first exercise I usually teach people when I give thumping lessons, and this is it. Really boring and monotonous. And if you don't learn this stuff, good luck. Practice. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little clip here, and you have a great day.